Have you ever crammed for a test, aced the multiple choice part, and then poof, a week later it's all gone? I think we've all been there. Well, today we're going to get into the anatomy of why that happens. We're going to explore this really powerful difference between two types of memory, recall versus recognition.
Okay, so to kick things off, let's jump right into a really high-stakes situation. Our source material calls this the clinical test. And honestly, it's the perfect way to frame the huge gap between just knowing something for a test and actually understanding it in the real world.
So look at this. On the left, you've got your standard multiple choice question. The answer's right there on the page, you just have to recognize it. But then, look at the question on the right. This is from the preface of our source, an anatomy textbook. A surgeon asks a student this in the middle of a procedure. No options, no hints. You have to pull that critical information out of thin air. The stakes couldn't be more different, right?
So what's actually going on in our brains here? This brings us to the absolute core of our explainer today. These two completely different mental processes, recall and recognition. They really are two fundamentally different ways of knowing something.
And this quote from our source it absolutely hits the nail on the head. When a doctor asks that tough question in the operating room, they're not checking if you can recognize the answer from a list. No way. They are testing your ability to recall it, to actively pull that knowledge out on demand when it matters most.
Okay, so let's break this down. First up, recognition. This is basically your passive memory. It's like seeing a face in a crowd and thinking, hey, I know them from somewhere. Multiple choice tests, true, false, they all test this. You're given cues and your brain just has to do a little matching game.
But recall is a whole different beast. It's active memory, and it's much, much harder. Using our last analogy, this is like being asked to sketch that person's face from memory without them being there. You have to search through your own mental files and pull the information out all by yourself. And that is the skill you need in a high-stakes clinical setting.
So the big question is, if recall is the goal for real expertise, how do you actually train for it? Well, our source material, which is this really unique open-source textbook, it offers a direct solution to this exact problem.
The source itself is called Human Anatomy, Self-Assessment Review Questions by Nolan and McNamara. And what's so cool about it is that its entire mission is built around one simple idea, closing that gap between what you learn in the classroom and what you actually need to do in a demanding, real-world setting.
And how does it do it? Well, the design is brilliantly simple. The whole book is just short answer and fill-in-the-blank questions. That's it. By getting rid of the multiple choice options, it forces you, the student, to flex that mental muscle of active recall. It forces you to practice recall over and over again.
And the structure of the book is so clean and effective. Part 1 is just chapter after chapter of these recall-based questions, all sorted by different parts of the body. And Part 2, it's just the answer key. That's the whole thing. It's a no-frills, straight-to-the-point tool for training your brain the way it'll actually be tested in life.
Okay, theory is one thing, but let's actually feel the difference for ourselves. I've pulled a few questions straight from the textbook. No multiple choice, no safety net. Let's see how you do. Ready?
All right, first one. The dens is an osteological feature of which vertebra? Take a second. You feel that? That little churn in your brain as you search for the answer? That is the feeling of active recall.
And the answer is C2, also known as the axis vertebra. Hey, if you got it, great job. If not, you can probably feel just how different that was from simply picking C2 out of a list of A, B, C, and D. Let's try another one. Think about the shoulder, that area between the deltoid and pectoral muscles. There's a specific vein that runs right through that groove. What's it called?
The answer there is the cephalic vein. You see how specific this is? It's not about being kind of familiar. It's about having that precise piece of knowledge ready to go.
Okay, last one for our little practice round. Let's move down into the chest. You've got two main stem bronchi branching off to your lungs. One of them is wider than the other. Which one is it?
And the answer is right, the right main stem bronchus. It's a simple one-word answer, but you had to pull that specific fact out of your memory with 0 clues. And that's the whole magic of this method.
So that little exercise was pretty revealing, right? But let's zoom out a bit. Why does this difference between recall and recognition matter so much? We're really getting to the heart of what it takes to build true, lasting expertise in just about any field. Just like the authors say in the preface, this whole approach is about one thing: preparation. It's about training your brain to perform under pressure, to be able to access what you know when you actually need it, not just when you're sitting in a quiet exam hall.
So the path to real mastery becomes pretty clear, and it kind of breaks down into 3 steps.
First, you have to realize you need to move beyond just passively recognizing things. Step 2, you have to actively practice retrieval. That means quizzing yourself, explaining concepts out loud, using tools like this textbook, whatever it takes to force yourself to pull information from your memory. And finally, all that hard work pays off by building real, deep confidence, the kind you need to perform when the stakes are really high.
And that brings us to one last question, and this one is for you. Think about your own life, your work, your studies, maybe a hobby. What's something that you recognize, but you can't actually recall on the spot? Because finding that gap, that's the first step to truly mastering anything.